Hi, how you doing today? My name's Austin Morgan, and I'll be talking to you about a pretty cool book I have today. So I know most of you guys are in high school now, and you've probably been dealt with a lot of textbooks in the past. You've probably talked about in American history how the storyline of how America is the best country in the world and has done no wrong. And also, those books are kind of boring. Textbooks seem to be a very bland storyline. They don't dive into much detail about history. So the book I have today is called Lies My Teacher Told Me. The book is about American history and how the points in the parts of history that textbooks seem to leave out. Sometimes it's history that makes America look bad sometimes, but it's good to learn that history because we learn from our mistakes, and it's important that we know what those mistakes are so we can improve and not make the same mistakes again. And in many textbooks, they decide to leave that part of history out to make America look great and who's done no wrong. So I want to read to you guys, or show you and read, I guess. There's a passage here. Let me see here. So this chapter is about Christopher Columbus and how in the history books, how he's been portrayed in a different light than what the real history of Christopher Columbus and discovering America is all about. So most history books, they talk about how Christopher Columbus was the first person to discover America, and that's simply not true. If you see here, I'll show the picture again. I'll read here to you also. The picture here, this name here is Christopher Columbus. All of these and all of these are people who discovered America before Christopher Columbus. Probably the most famous one that many students begin to know now is the Vikings from Iceland in about the year 1000 AD. But it goes back to the year 70,000 BCE. The Siberians traveled through a peninsula to Alaska. They were the true first people to find America. There's Indonesians who found America. There's Japanese. There's Chinese. One of the most documented cases is the West Africans. They were trading with people in the Caribbean in the year 1000 BC, before BCE, 1000 BCE, thousands of years before Christopher Columbus discovered America. But for some reasons, history books have made Christopher Columbus the man who discovered America. And like I said, that's simply not true. Find this little passage here. It talks about how recently anthropologists have discovered gold and metals that the natives in the Caribbean islands had when Christopher Columbus came there, and they said that they've been trading with West Africans for years and years and years, as long as I can remember. So this myth that the lies my teacher told me are, again, they're lies. And this book will fill the gaps in about what history really is. Another really cool section in this book talks about when the Native Americans and the Western Europeans really clashed after Christopher Columbus. It talks about, most people learn about the Black Plague, but what they don't learn about is the diseases that came to North America from the Europeans. And so here's a passage here that says, within 3 years, the plague wiped out 90 to 96% of inhabitants on the coastal New England. So when the Western Europeans came to America and started settling America, they wiped out 90 to 96% of the population by just disease they brought with them. Again, most textbooks never mention disease in America. They mention the Black Plague in Europe, but they never talk about diseases in America. And it's huge because the white population of America is responsible for wiping out and killing with disease the Native Americans. And most history books don't talk about it because it might shed a bad light on white Europeans and white Americans, but it's simply, again, simply false. This book is it's a phenomenal book. It's going to discuss issues that textbooks leave out, from, I already mentioned, Christopher Columbus, from the Native Americans. It'll go into how the African Americans were treated and things that the textbooks leave out about their history. It'll go dive deep into World War I, World War II. It'll dive into the Vietnam War, because the Vietnam War is one of the most least covered topics in American history, because it's a very controversial topic. It's a very topic that makes America look bad. It was a bunch of bad decisions that led to what America did in Vietnam. Most textbooks leave it out, but it's a very important history. I think you should learn the history of what your country did, because you can learn and grow from that. By just learning the good stuff and the nice fluffy stuff, you don't get a full picture of what the American history is all about. This book ends with, it'll end with 9/11 and how American foreign policy, American decisions led to 9/11, and the reaction to America during 9/11. And again, it's a book that most textbooks don't touch, because it's kind of fresh, it's kind of new. This book goes into detail about a lot of the stuff that textbooks leave out, because they don't want to offend anybody, or they don't want to make anybody upset, or shed a bad light on America and the history of America. But again, I can't stress how important it is to know the true history, to learn and grow from that. So like I said, the book is called Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Loewen. And this is actually his second book he did. His first one was a world history. The second one is a American history. Both books very phenomenal books. Very informative, very, very interesting. You can learn a ton of really good facts in this book that you had no idea before. So I think it's a good book. I hope you're excited to read it. I was excited, and I learned way more than I thought I would. And it is a phenomenal book. So ready to read.